Greetings one and all for this fourth day of this particular piece. Kit Kat was here a few seconds ago and now he's disappeared, so but hello from him, I think. Anyway, oh, here he is. I need to say hello. Good morning, everyone. Yes, wave. There we go. Right, let's have at it then, shall we? Where were we, Kit Kat? So, I may or may not complete this piece today. I have a feeling not, because there is a fair amount of work to do still. Let's see how things go, shall we? I think it requires a little bit of what I was going to do. I think I might have started with this yesterday. So I just go over this water surface with my eraser. So you'll notice that visually, this section over here appears different to this section over here, not just in color, but in the direction of my technique. And I think once I'm complete, that will kind of make sense as well. There is method to my madness. So let's see how this pans out. As I had been explaining, the light changes dramatically from according to the elevation of the eye, from your foreground to the distance, or as you raise your eyesight up to the horizon from the foreground, at your feet basically. And with that, your light spectrum changes as well. Everything, the reflective and refractive qualities change. Everything changes, and this is what, when you start to work with the feeling of a piece, or the energy of the artwork, or the subject rather, then the interpretation changes, or the interpretation becomes clearer rather. You observe better. So what I'm subtly doing here is, although maintaining this crosswise angularity of the piece, of this section, I'm also now maintaining the direction of the strokes that I've used on top here down, and as they would almost as they would flatten out. Anyway, I can't work too much over there just yet because Mr. Kit Kat has decided to park himself right in the way. Can you? I don't want to run. Sorry, I don't want to run you over. So with this kind of manner of interpreting, because of the materials that I'm using are not sufficient to, at this point, or well, with this size and everything, to visually accurately depict this, what's going on. I can't replicate the photographic image with this, but I can do it graphically. Well, in terms of its interpretation, with the use of perhaps light and color, introducing or instilling the energy, I can hopefully recreate a feeling, or bring in that feeling, what it feels like to be here. So, and that energy is then translated to the viewer almost unconsciously. And I think that's the reason why certain artwork, certain pieces will captivate you while others won't. And certain pieces will speak to you specifically and not the next person. It's for reasons such as that. I definitely won't be finishing this piece today. I can tell now because I've got a lot of work to do still, a lot of line work and so on as well. And the line work, in fact, will be what ties up these two seemingly now different sets of techniques. So in the foreground here we have these wonderful rich yellowy greens taking place. So we'll just start bringing those up now. Bringing in some yellows and green, and then over that with the blue reflections. So what I'm basically doing here is layering. To give the visual representation of these different levels, the water surface or the transparency with the reflective surface on the top, and then the bed of the bottom of the pool, sandy, golden sand, light penetrating through the slightly murky water, seawater, casting shadow of the ripples on the water surface onto the bottom of the pool. So here, I don't know, I can probably count the number of colors that I've been using here. So I've been using three different blues, a turquoise, 3 different greens, so any number of colors to basically add depth of field, dimension, and so on. So I'm using this very bright green at the moment, but as it blends with the charcoal, it then darkens a little bit, becomes a little more subtle. Now slightly darker forest green. Or a bottle green rather. And also this much darker green. Let me just try and peel this stupid thing. Once again, it's horrible things, these. Really badly done. Starting to work with more line here than color, filling in with color. Damn mosquitoes! Again, always one. That's the. I think perhaps universally. No, I don't know. Maybe there's always got to be one. If there's not a million, then there's just one. And you get rid of the one, it's replaced by another one. But always one. So 4 or 5 different shades of green. Different hues of green. Hues and hues. Right, now I'm going to start working with a little bit of the my pale blue. I'm going to use definitely more line work here this time, which I shall then blend a bit later on. Just working on some little sort of spot highlights. As you can just imagine, the subtle undulation of the surface of the water. just catching the sky above, and more so over here. Becoming less and less intense as it gets closer to you. Right, and then of course over here there's much more. So now we're working on so we've got this cast, the sunlight is obviously casting the shadow of the bridge onto the bottom of the pool, which is this sort of dark area over here. And then where the shadow is cast onto the water surface, that ends about here. That's about here. So that now you've got quite bright reflective surface over the shadow. So this is why I was talking about layers. So even though you've got shadow on the bottom, you've also got light catching the surface on the top, which adds a whole different dimension. And subtly changing the angle of my strokes, just by swiveling, oscillating my wrist a little bit. And then a little bit of this more lilac colour here as well in the foreground. I think what I need now is to use some where is it? My black conté. I'm just using this for very much slightly more finer line work, just to bring out the darker aspects of this more intensely. I think what I need actually is my compressed charcoal for this. Now, I haven't used this for quite some time now, but the compressed charcoal is just, it's charcoal, but being compressed, it's much more inky black, much more intense. So I use it sparingly. I need to do some more blending. Blendy, 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 Wendy. It's for reasons such as this that I start realizing that these things take longer than expected. And this is why I shan't complete today. Always takes longer than expected. Always. Using here now, I think a little bit of this turquoise. That will do. And now some more of these greens. Goodness, it's been difficult working to the edge of the page for some reason with this piece. I've got a whole section that is very difficult to fill in. There we go, that's somewhat better. Right. I don't seem to have a great deal else to say today, do I? I'm feeling a little bit more contemplative today than I have been, so yeah, it is what it is. Some days I'm talkative and others not. I was in two minds as to whether I'd be having this session today, because yesterday we had a power outage. Well, the entire day. From its electricity went off at just after 8 o'clock and didn't come on again until I think after 9:30 in the evening. So yeah, there's a bit of a concern as to whether or not I would be able to run my sessions today. So yeah, on an ongoing scenario of yeah, just ineptitude, municipality, whatever, whoever. Apparently there's been a strike in service delivery. What that entails, I don't know, but it's resulted in widespread outages in power. So who knows where it leads. We just carry on. We carry on carrying on. That's all we can do, really. But it is frustrating, because unless you have a generator, of course your fridge warms up. Anyway, I'm not going to complain too much about it. think that I must now use my see, what's nice about the compressed charcoal is that even though it's very, very black, you can still smudge it, blend it, reduce its intensity somewhat, whereas with the black conté, it's more difficult to do so, much more difficult to do so. So, as I said, I use it sparingly, but it does have its place. And yep, it blends rather nicely. So I can create these much more contrasting areas of shadow, of dark, wherever necessary. To contrast obviously with the highlighted areas, which I shall also be intensifying with white conté and pastel. So I don't end up with black. It's always going to blend a little bit, but it just adds that depth, that intensity of shade. And now all the colors start to work together right across the spectrum of what I've been using. So I'm just holding the compressed charcoal very lightly in my fingertips and just going over the entire surface, just bringing up a little bit of contrast here and there, selectively of course. So very different treatment to the other seascapes that I've been working on, because it's a completely different energy. There's in the surf out there, there's much more of a freneticism to the crashing waves and the undulating surface and all of that, whereas there's much more of a serenity to this piece. But and whereas I've got intense white foam and that with the breakers, here the colors are much more subtle, and the contrasts are much more subtle as well. The play of light is different, and as I've been saying all along, to interpret that, one must feel it. As if one was there. Now let's start with a little bit of my white conté. And here I want to create these quite nice little highlights and much more of the line work. So just traversing the surface with line and building it up slowly. Adding and reducing pressure as I go. Also turning the little contact crayon in my fingers so that I get an inconsistent line. Just as much as you might imagine the water surface to be. It's not all absolutely these perfect lines. There's little changes and subtleties according to the ripples caused by the breeze, for example. Slightly different, slightly subtle changes in directional light, etc. I think I need some more lilac here. I'm feeling for a little lilac. Do for now. Pale yellow, because why not? Because sometimes detail or the illusion of the detail can be achieved through subtle changes and subtle line work or subtle changes of color and hue. To achieve a very similar result to reality, so-called reality. But up close, very much not reality, very much not realism, very graphic up close. And without trying to, without sounding vain, I think that sets or identifies my work, because I don't have the expectation of absolute pristine accuracy. I'm just letting it create itself, and the urge to apply a certain color. I mean, why this color now and not earlier or at another time? Why at all? And I think that's what makes the difference ultimately, is that the artwork creates itself. With a little help from me, of course, but and then the artwork takes on its own character and energy and appeal and dynamics. And I can just work in wonder, because it is quite lovely to see when something, when one doesn't have the expectation. So now, and you as the observer, and you perhaps watching these videos, and perhaps following me fairly closely, I don't know, and you'll see this piece unfold session after session, or from the beginning of the session to the end of the session. And it's exactly the same for me, because I don't have the expectation of the end result. So it's fascinating, and I'll just suddenly decide I'll pick up this little pale yellow pastel for whatever reason I don't know, and before my eyes something emerges, something that unexpected, which is so exciting. Lovely to work with that sort of, yeah, hey, whatever happens. And the result is quite startling, because it adds a completely new perspective just in this one area. And I love that. I really, really do. It really is. I'm just working with some pale blue here as well. Hello, Kit Kat. Where have you been? So with this kind of line work, you start to create the illusion of layering, of depth of field, and so on, depth of perspective, and it just line work is wonderful. Line work is the grammar of the piece, the punctuation, and the highlights and the contrast created through line is what really makes the piece speak, makes sense of it all. It all starts to then pull together really beautifully. And that's what I really enjoy about reaching this kind of stage of an artwork, is these little tweaks. Yes. So this shadow area here, you've got quite intense highlight, at least contrast, because you've got the deep shadow cast on the water, on the bed of the pool, bottom of the pool, and then you've got the reflected sky off the surface of the pool. And that is brought about through the use of line work. Right, but I think we're out of time. Goodness me. That's what happens when you're having fun, right? Yes, so we didn't complete today, as I expected. But yes, it's coming along really, really to my satisfaction. Yeah, we've got a lot to play with tomorrow still. Finishing up these sort of areas, finishing off the sky. I might actually drop this piece a little bit for tomorrow's session to complete, so I don't have to stand up to work on the top area of the sky. But yes, it's coming along well. I'm very stoked with it, actually. Yeah. Anyway, thank you for joining. As I will mention now every day, my high definition is brought to you by ks3.com fiber. Well, with a little help from them, and yeah, so we get a nice clear picture, and which we didn't have before. So yes, thank you for joining. Thank you for bearing with me, even through my quieter moments. And do tune in again on the morrow, and I shall complete this piece tomorrow. We've got a few little exciting bits to add on at the end with acrylic. So yes, looking forward to that. It's been a very different piece, this as well, from the seascapes that I've been doing of late. Anyway, take care, have a fantastic day further. What's the weather doing here in Durban? I don't know quite, but I can see some pink clouds, so who knows. Have a good one, folks. Oodles and oodles of toodles. And catch you again soon. Take it easy then. Bye. Don't forget to doodle.